You are destroying yourself, and you don't even realize it. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you swallow your anger to avoid seeming unpleasant, every time you give up your time, your energy, your own dreams, all to avoid disappointing anyone, you dig a little deeper into your own prison. Maybe you think you are being generous, selfless. Maybe you take pride in being that person everyone can count on. But I'm going to tell you a harsh truth. This is not altruism. It is self-abandonment. You have spent so much time trying to please others that you have forgotten who you really are. And the cruelest part of it all? It happens automatically, unconsciously. You enter an environment, scan the emotions of the people around you, anticipate reactions, adapt your behavior, say what they expect to hear, not because you want to, but because you need to. You need the approval, the recognition, the look of acceptance that confirms you still belong. But there is a price, a very high price. Your vital energy is being drained. Your time, the most precious resource you have, is being wasted in an endless dance to try to maintain a harmony that, deep down, isn't even real. And your own desires? They always come last, always postponed, always suffocated. Carl Jung called this phenomenon identification with the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted by the collective. And the more you confuse yourself with this mask, the further away you get from your true self. But here's an even more uncomfortable revelation. This compulsive behavior of pleasing is a defense. It is an escape. By hiding behind the persona, you avoid looking at your shadow, that repressed part of your psyche that contains authentic and often uncomfortable emotions, anger, frustration, the desire for affirmation, the urge to say enough. But as long as you don't confront this shadow, it will continue to control your life from the sidelines. And do you know what else feeds this cycle? The illusion that being accepted by others is what gives meaning to your existence. This is exactly what Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga warn us about in The Courage to be Disliked. By living to meet others' expectations, you become a prisoner of an endless quest for recognition, a quest that will never be satisfied. The truth is brutal, but liberating. You should not and cannot live trying to please everyone. In this video, we will expose the unconscious forces that keep you trapped in this pattern. We will understand how the persona and the quest for acceptance sabotage your authenticity. And above all, we will explore how you can break this cycle and begin a true process of individuation, the path to becoming who you really are. It will not be an easy path. You will have to confront deep fears, painful emotions, truths you may have avoided your whole life. But if you have the courage to move forward, you will find something infinitely more valuable than the approval of others, your inner freedom. You were not born to please. But at some point in your history, you learned that it was necessary. Perhaps it was in childhood when you realized that your authentic feelings, anger, sadness, frustration, were not welcome. Maybe you learned that you would only be accepted if you were gentle, attentive, always available. That love came with conditions. If you behave well, if you don't cause problems, if you are pleasant, then you will be accepted. This is the cradle of the invisible cycle of self-sacrifice, a pattern that starts as a coping mechanism and becomes a psychic trap. From there, you begin to operate in a state of constant alertness. Unbeknownst to you, you start scanning the environment. You observe faces, read micro-gestures, feel the tension in the air. You become an expert at detecting what others want, even when they don't say it. And before any discomfort arises, you already offer the solution. A favor, a smile, a conciliatory gesture, even if it costs you your peace. This happens because, at some unconscious level, you associate emotional security with the approval of others. If you are rejected, isolated, criticized, something inside you screams, "You do not belong." And the fear of not belonging is one of the deepest fears there is. Alfred Adler's individual psychology explains that human beings are driven by a fundamental impulse for belonging and social contribution. The problem is that when this impulse distorts, it generates compensatory behavior. You start trying to gain value in the eyes of others by sacrificing yourself. This is a misdirected quest for social acceptance. And as Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga show, in The Courage to be Disliked, by trying to live to satisfy others' expectations, you abandon your freedom and condemn yourself to a permanent state of anxiety. And here lies the most perverse point of this cycle. It self-reinforces. Every time you say yes when you wanted to say no, you reinforce the image that you are someone always available, always helpful, always good. And the more you reinforce this image, the more people expect it from you. And the more they expect, the harder it becomes to break the pattern. Because now, if you dare to set boundaries, you will be betraying not only others' expectations, but also the image you have built for yourself. And so you gradually erase yourself. The time that could be dedicated to your own growth is consumed by external demands. The energies that could nourish your own projects, your well-being, your journey of individuation, are drained by the effort to keep others comfortable. But perhaps you are not consciously aware of this. Maybe you rationalize by saying that you enjoy helping, that you take pleasure in being useful, that you can't say no because people need you. Yet deep down, if you stop to listen, there is a fatigue, a growing resentment, a muffled voice that screams for freedom. And this voice will not be silenced until you break the cycle. But here's the question: why is it so hard to break? Why, even when you realize you are sacrificing too much, do you continue to repeat the pattern? The answer lies in the next layer of this dynamic: identification with the persona. In the next section, we will explore how the persona, this mask you built to be accepted, has become your prison. And why, as long as you do not question this identification, you will remain trapped in the cycle of self-sacrifice, even if you consciously wish to be free. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Have you ever wondered why, even when you realize you are negating yourself to please others, you continue to repeat the behavior? Why does it seem so difficult to simply say no? Why does a look of disappointment, a subtle criticism, or even the fear of being misunderstood make you revert to molding yourself to others' expectations? The answer lies in a psychic trap you have built, and that you now believe is you, the persona. Carl Jung taught us that the persona is a social mask we all wear. It is necessary, an intermediary between the self and the outside world. Without it, we would be like children without filters, unable to navigate social demands. But the problem begins when you identify too much with this mask. Imagine that throughout your life, you noticed that certain behaviors generated acceptance. Being helpful, saying yes, being flexible, always being available. Every time you acted this way, you were rewarded with approval, praise, inclusion. And every time you dared to express your real needs, anger, frustration, a desire for boundaries, you were punished with rejection, criticism, or isolation. Over time, you understood, it is safer to be who others want me to be. And so, unconsciously, you built your persona. In your case, probably a persona of good person, trustworthy, altruistic, strong, always willing to help. What you may not realize is that this persona is not you. It is a role, a character. Jung states that the more you identify with the persona, the further you distance yourself from the self, your authentic core, where your real desires, your boundaries, your inner truth reside. But the persona is seductive. It offers a sense of belonging. It protects you from confronting difficult emotions. Because see, if you start saying no, if you set boundaries, if you express your legitimate anger, you will inevitably have to confront something you have spent your life avoiding: your shadow. The shadow, in Jung's view, is everything you have repressed to adapt: your anger, your legitimate selfishness, your will to assert your space, your need to say, enough. And here lies the true prison. As long as you do not confront the shadow, you will remain trapped in the persona. The compulsive behavior of pleasing, therefore, is not just a social habit. It is an unconscious mechanism to avoid confronting deep aspects of the psyche. It is an escape. And the more you escape, the more fragile and dependent on others' approval you become. The more you reinforce unconscious archetypes like the martyr, the devoted mother, the savior, patterns that Jung described as archetypal masks that reinforce the cycle of self-sacrifice. You begin to believe that your worth lies in having no needs, in always being strong, always generous, always perfect. But the truth is brutal. No one can sustain this mask without paying a price. Extreme fatigue, anxiety, resentment, depression, a sense of emptiness. These are the symptoms of a soul suffocated by the persona. As long as you do not recognize this dynamic, you will continue to go in circles. You will try to be more assertive. You will try to prioritize yourself, but you will feel guilt, shame, fear of rejection, and you will go back to pleasing. You will go back to negating yourself. You will go back to putting on the mask. Therefore, true transformation requires going beyond the persona and facing what it hides: the shadow. In the next section, we will explore exactly that. You will discover why the fear of saying no is deeply rooted in repressed contents of your psyche, and how facing the shadow is the indispensable step to freeing yourself from the cycle of self-sacrifice.